Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. Today I'm here for Mercy Tiara Kits, and I'm going to be creating a 12 by 12 layout featuring the August 2024 release called Sweet Summer. I'll be focusing mostly on the mixed media add-on, so it's safe to say I will be playing outside my comfort zone. This add-on totally intrigues me. The colorings and creamy paints from Shimmers, the stencil from Little Birdie, and especially the 10 collage papers from Dina Wakley. Before attempting any layout, I played around with the products just to get a feel for the colors and figure out how to use the collage paper. It's like this super thin tissue paper. I ended up making this with zero intention to use it as a page, and this permitted me to get to know the products. I don't end up wasting it though. You will see that later on in the process. The Sweet Summer Kit is absolutely beautiful, and if you want a closer look, check out my unboxing video. I will put a link to it below, along with links to the Mercy Tiara Kits website, Instagram, and Facebook group. So let's get started, and we're going to start with a bit of mixed media. So this add-on comes with a spray bottle of colorings. The color is pretty in pink. This is creamy, so it's in a little pot, and the color is Ride the Tide. Both of those are from Shimmers. I have a stencil from Little Birdie. Here are those collage papers from Dina Wakley. So in addition to this, I bring in some stuff from my stash. I have a stencil from Stampin' Up! I also bring in some white acrylic paint and a little bowl. I have a little spray bottle with some water. This ink is Morning Mist from Versifying Claire, and I have a little bucket full of paintbrushes and a blending brush. The paper I'm using is Foundations paper from Vicki Boutin. So the first thing I'm going to do is spray some water in this colorings pot, so that activates the paint. And what I'm going to do is paint through this stencil. So it makes kind of messy circles. I do this towards the top of my page and the bottom of the page because what I'm thinking is I'm going to have a row of photos in the middle of this page. I have to set this aside to let it dry, and it doesn't take too long. I let it dry for maybe 15 minutes. When I come back, I select the collage paper. So what I want to do is basically create a layered photo mat in the middle of the page. Some of these papers have like a white transparent background with black printing on top, and some of them are the opposite. I go for the white background with the black printing. You can see here I'm tearing it. What I find here is that I can tear across the width, but I can't tear on the length. When I tried to do that, it gave me this jagged edge. It didn't tear easily, and I didn't like how it looked. So I tear the width on all three of them, and you can see I'm staggering them across the middle of the page. Before adhering any of this, I am going to do some stenciling. So this stencil you can see has like a script font on it. What I do is I stencil a line. I stencil two lines across the page, and basically I'm positioning the stenciling so that it will be peeking out from behind the collage paper. So I do it along the top, I do it along the bottom, just checking in with that collage paper. By the way, I wrinkled it up just because it's so satisfying to wrinkle up this thin paper. And by the way, it's really robust as well. Anyway, you can see I'm still inking, and this doesn't have to dry because it's just ink. So then what I will do is get out my white acrylic paint. I squirt a bit in this bowl with a bit of water, mix it up, and I slap it across the middle of the page. Before doing this, I watched a Dina Wakley video where she was using her product, and she was using white acrylic paint as glue. So that's what I'm doing. What I find I'm doing here, however, is adding way too much paint. Mine stayed wet for a really long time. You can see I went across the middle, put down one piece of collage paper. I did the same thing, and then I added the second, and now I'm going to do the third. Why I know this paper is tough, you may notice here, you may have noticed, I actually adhered one of the papers down, lifted it up, and switched it for another paper. And even though this paper is really thin, it didn't rip. I let that dry for quite some time, and now I'm coming in with some more of this creamies paints. I'm just adding a bit of blue to the middle. This ends up getting quite covered up. I am having quite a bit of fun using all of this paints because it's so different for me. That's probably why I'm adding probably more paint than needs to be. I have to set this aside to let it dry, and when I'm setting it aside, I am placing it between scrapbooks. After I let it dry a certain amount, I basically placed it between two squares of kind of a plasticky type sheet, and then I let it flatten out between albums. Now what I'm doing is adding some splatters. So I put some Stampin' Up! Ink in this bowl with a bit of water, and now I'm using this brush and I'm just tapping it. I'm tapping it across the middle, but it splatters out towards the top and the bottom as well. So what I did was I set it aside, I flattened it. You can see I added a frame style foundation page with 2 sheets of paper. Those are both from the cardstock add-on. I honestly wished I didn't. I don't know if that lends to the mixed media feel. That lends to my graphic clean style. Anyway, I did it, so I'm going to move ahead. I also matted 3 photos. These are 3 photos of strawberry shortcakes in process. My family prefers strawberry shortcakes made with biscuits as opposed to cakes, and that's what this story is about. I haven't really selected a lot of material. I have 2 title options. These were both in the embellishment add-on, and I also have some paper. I have the cardstock, of course, from behind the foundation page, but I did select 3 papers from the main kit, all from Carta Bella, but I'm really not sure how I'm going to move forward at this. This is really a foreign process to me, doing all of this mixed media. I also have this sheet of paper, my practice page that I showed you earlier. You can see there's 2 punch outs. What I thought I would do with that is take a die set and punch out some flowers and some leaves. This die set is from Elizabeth Craft Designs. I've had it for quite some time. The leaves and the flowers reminded me of the leaves and flowers on strawberry plants. That's why I picked it. And now what I'm showing you is kind of what's in my embellishment tray, but I narrowed down absolutely nothing because, like I mentioned earlier, I have no idea how I'm going to move forward with this process. I threw in some doilies from my stash as well, but I don't end up using them. So the first thing I'm going to do is start cutting up this paper. So you can see I've cut it down in strips. I have my little Creative Memories mini die cutting machine here, and I cut out a bunch of flowers and leaves in different sizes. Basically, I'm focusing the leaf dies on the papers that have that collage paper, and I'm focusing the flowers on the cardstock that is painted. So I'm getting a bit of white, pink, and blue flowers. So I continue doing this off camera, and in a moment you're going to see I come back. I cut up almost the entire sheet. So I have tons of flowers and tons of leaves. I particularly love those leaves with the collage papers. So you can see I have my embellishing on this tray. So the flowers, what I ended up doing to them is simply punching out some circles. So I did some in pink, and I used the pink paper that was in that main kit. It's a paper from Carta Bella, and I also did some of the flowers simply with white cardstock in the middle, white circle cardstock in the middle. Here are the leaves. I absolutely love them. In addition to that, I do have some title options. So that is a foam sticker sheet from Simple Stories. The other one is from American Crafts, little tiny puffy alphas, both in the embellishment add-on. I basically cut out 3 words from that foam title sheet: sweet, love, and beautiful, all in different colors. I'm not quite sure. I figured they could all work. And on wax paper from those small puffy alphas, I have the word biscuits. I have a small sampling of ephemera pieces from 2 ephemera packs. One was in the main kit, the other in the embellishment add-on, all from Carta Bella. And I just showed you some smaller sprinkling options, some puffy stickers from Freckled Fawn, and some sequins. So I'm just having a look at the pattern paper. Now I know I don't want to cover up a whole bunch of that mixed media because I worked so hard on it, but I'm thinking I might like to introduce another color. So this paper I've already cut into it. I'm getting out my border maker system from Creative Memories, and the cartridge I have is a scalloped circle cartridge. So I'm going to punch out 2 borders. So I punch along, I'm going to cut it at 1 inch, and I do the same thing. So I do this twice, and my idea is just to add a little shelf underneath the photos. Throughout every step of this process so far, I am still not certain whether or not this is going to work out, or I'm certainly not certain I'm going to make a video with it. But nevertheless, I'm moving forward and I'm finding it really a lot of fun to do something completely different. I am trimming down these borders, and then what I will do is kind of stagger them towards the bottom of that collage paper mat. So it does introduce a little bit of color. It is soft because that blue paint that's on there is soft. So I don't want to add anything harsh. I want to kind of go with the same intensity of color. And now I'm placing my photos on top. I'm liking that. So what I'm going to do right now is start playing around with embellishments. And I'm going to start by getting out the titles because I have 3 different color options. At this point, I'm thinking I want to kind of build on the vertical underneath the middle photo and on top, but this does switch up throughout the process. So at this point, I have one title, Sweet Biscuits, underneath my middle photo. I'm kind of building up to the side. Not sure if I really like it or not, but at this point, I'm also realizing I don't know where my journaling is going to go, and I do have a story to tell. So I set this aside and I get myself a stamp set. This stamp set is called Swirly Frames. It's an older one from Stampin' Up. And what I'm going to do is stamp it on some white cardstock with some black ink, and then I'm going to cut it out. So what I'm going to do with this is my journaling on top of it. I do 2 because I think as well this might serve as a great base to an embellishment cluster. If you don't have a stamp like this, if you look at it, it's just messy lines. You could draw a circle kind of messy and just go over it a few times with a thin black marker, and it would have the same effect. So I do it twice, and I'm just going to cut it out with scissors. So I start doing this on camera, and then I will continue doing it off camera because it's not that difficult to do. You can just see I'm actually off camera right now. Sorry about that, but I'm just kind of following along the black lines and cutting. And here I am with the 2 circles. Also off camera, I did adhere those 2 border strips that will serve as my shelf. And behind my photos, I added a piece of scrap cardstock behind each photo. That just will raise it up a bit. I do that often instead of adding foam adhesive. So I plan to place my photos across the middle, and now once again I'm going to start embellishing my page. I'm going to start with a cluster in the bottom right. That's going to be where my title goes, my journaling goes, so it's going to be my main cluster. At this point I place the journaling box just to the right. I'm building a bit with flowers and I'm trying out the titles. I'm going into those ephemera pieces. All of them have something to do with homemade. So the one I select is Homemade with Love because when I make strawberry shortcakes with biscuits, I make homemade biscuits, and I definitely make them with love. At this point, I switch up the word sweet for the word beautiful, and I like how the pink word appears better. And now I'm kind of playing around a bit with the flowers and the leaves. At this point, I decide I have to start adhering. So I'm going to start by adhering the photos. And when I adhere a row of 3 photos on a page like this one, I usually start on one end. I started on the right. I measured the distance to the edge of the page, and I did the same thing on the left using the very same measurement. Then I positioned the photo in the middle. Next, I came in and adhered that journaling box. I did it right between the two punched out border strips. Then I adhered that little piece of ephemera with the words "Homemade with Love." And you can see right now I'm adhering one of the flowers. It kind of crosses over two of the photos. That's going to go underneath my word "beautiful." This foam title "Beautiful," it's from one of those Simple Stories titles foam sheets. This one is from a vintage collection. They are very sticky, so I do not adhere until I know where I want to place it. So once I adhered that photo down, I'm sorry, that flower down, then I adhered the word "beautiful" on top. Now I'm coming in with a few more flowers and some leaves. So now my layout is definitely going to be a diagonal design. Again, originally I thought I would do a vertical design. What you see me doing right now is I took that piece of ephemera and I trimmed it down a bit. The edges were round and for some reason I didn't like it. So I just trimmed it a bit, made it more square, and once again I'm slipping it between those two punched out borders. Now I want to adhere the word "biscuit." So I'm just doing it beneath that ephemera piece. And if you look at the word "beautiful," then the ephemera piece, and then "biscuits," they all kind of stagger from left to right. Also off camera, I did my journaling, and I did it in kind of messy cursive writing. I didn't draw lines. It's crooked. And I find that type of journaling on a mixed media layout just lends more to the mixed media look. Now I've moved ahead to that cluster in the top left. So this is going to be a repetition of what you see in the bottom right, only a lot smaller. So I have that circle there, then a few flowers, then some leaves. That's basically it at this point. It does change a little bit later on. I move ahead and I start adhering all of this down. I'm fluffing up my flower petals. And now what I'm going to want to do is come in and add some finishing touches. So I have those puffy stickers from Freckled Fawn that were in the embellishment add-on. I have the sequins, which is an exclusive mix from Mercy Tiara Kits. First, I'm adding some staples to each end of that punched out border, and I'm having a look at the smaller bits and pieces. I'm also thinking that I might want to repeat those black puffy alphas in the top left. They're already in the bottom right. I'm thinking of putting the year in the top left. At this point, I'm looking at the small sprinkly bits, and what I end up doing off camera is I ended up tweaking that cluster in the top left. If you look at it, I added one more stamped circle, a flower, and the year. I also added sequin stars that were in the Mercy Tiara Kits exclusive sequin mix. So I added them in the middle of a few of those stenciled circles. I absolutely love those stars. They are so, so cute. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, Scrapbooking Quebec, I would be honored and thrilled if you did. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very, very much. Make sure you check out the Mercy Tiara Kits shop, Instagram, and Facebook page. Take care, and I will see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.